Look at this high quality t-shirt. So if you want to pick yourself up some high quality gear, go to garagenoisegear.com. I'll leave a link in the description. Now let's get started. Howdy, howdy everyone. Chris here. We're back in the garage today. We're working on this Mercedes front bumper cover. Today I'll share with you how to repair, prep, and paint a used bumper for your vehicle. So let's get into it. I really think this will be a good learning experience for Darius, so he's going to do this job from start to finish. This bumper's got the typical nicks and scratches and scuffs that need to be repaired. There is some gouges in this, so we'll have to do some fill work. But the first thing we need to do is strip it down to just the bumper. All right, so Darius has got this bumper all stripped down. See, here's the damage. We've got just some scuff marks, some minor scratches here that we need to take care of. Now we need to evaluate this, see what we need to take care of. So we're gonna go over all the rough areas. Like this might need some filler. So we'll go ahead and sand these real rough areas with 180 grit sandpaper. He's probably going to use the orbital sander, sand those out, and then fill this with a little bit of the Colad UV spot putty. Fill all those areas, then we'll 320 this entire bumper. We'll sand it with 320 grit sandpaper, smooth everything else out. 180, repair the deep scratches, and then sand the entire bumper with 320. You might go over this first with 320 just to smooth it out and see if he can get some of these scratches out. So anything he can just sand out and smooth out, and we'll just put a little bit of primer over it, we'll do that. But if it has a gouge in it, you need to fill it. Okay, so Darius has gotten this all sanded. He feather edged it out. So basically feather edging means we're smoothing out that paint and primer. We're taking away that hard edge and making it a smooth transition into the old paint. So this is nice and smooth, right? There's a little bit of a gouge here we're gonna fill. And then we've got a couple little gouges here, but he's got this all sanded with 320 grit sandpaper. Okay, so we got a little bit of a change of plans here. Because we're on a time crunch with this bumper, we want to paint this today. We're going to put primer over this, 2K primer over these repair areas, and then whatever we need to fill, because anything needs to be filled is very minor. We're going to fill with this Colad UV spot putty, and we're going to fill it over the primer. We're going to sand that primer, a little bit of 180, and then fill it over the primer. Let me show you the primer we're going to use. So this is the upol high build primer. It can be used as a high build primer, a primer surfacer, or actually a sealer. Now we're going to use it as a primer surfacer, which is just a thin coat of primer. And for that we mix it up 4 parts primer, 1 part activator, and then 1 part reducer. And if you want to use it as a sealer, it's 4 parts primer, 1 part activator, 2 parts reducer. And any urethane reducer will work with this primer. Now you could, if you were doing this at home on your own bumper, you could use a aerosol can 2K primer. I wouldn't recommend a 1K because it can react to paint, urethane paint. So I would stick with 2K products. You can get a 2K primer in an aerosol can. I think Eastwood makes one. And I'll leave links to all the products I use in this video down in the description. This is really thick stuff, so you got to mix it up really well. Okay, so we've got this all mixed up. We're going to use these R500. This is a low volume, low pressure paint gun, so it's going to produce less overspray. It consumes less air, but this is a really good gun for primer or for painting. You can check them out. I've got plenty of videos on this particular gun. This is a 1.5 tip and needle set. We've closed our fluid volume, which is right here. We close that all the way and we open it up a 1 3/4 turn. We're not going to need a lot of material. We want to be very specific where we put this primer. And then we'll adjust our air pressure lower because we've got a narrow fan pattern. Darius did a real nice job of feather edging this out, and a lot of these scratches came out. We just got a few little pits. A couple little chips here we'll fill. It's a little scratch here. And this is typical of used parts. So 20 PSI on the air pressure. kind of a medium wet coat of primer. All right, I think we're gonna be good. When you get a used part and the condition of the paint is okay, meaning it's not cracked or peeling, then you don't have to strip all that paint off. You can sand that and prep it out for paint and clear coat and paint right over top of it. In this case, most of this paint was in good shape. Of course, we had some damaged areas that we applied primer to, but just keep that in mind. I get that question quite often. Do I have to strip the paint off my part? In most cases, you don't. He's got this all sanded, 320, primer those areas that he feather edged out, and we're gonna fill those next after this dries. Now, before we fill it, we're gonna sand it with a little bit of 180 on the areas that we're gonna fill. Darius has got this primer pretty much sanded. He went over it with 320 grit sandpaper, smoothed it all out, smoothed out the texture out. We're looking for any imperfections that we need to fill. So I'm going to go around and fill those imperfections while he finishes sanding. Like we've got a little bit of a chip right there and a little gouge there. So what I'm going to use for that is some UV spot putty. This is the Colad UV spot putty, okay? This is the fine. The thing I like about this product is there's no shrinking. Cures quickly, it doesn't shrink, and I can actually paint right over top of these small little areas. A couple little chips right here we're gonna fill. So we just take some of this Colad, just fill it a little bit. Then we hit it with this ultraviolet light. And really after about 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds, this stuff is dry and we can sand it out. Okay, Darius is gonna sand these out. Just gonna scuff it a little bit with 320, smooth it out. Use some 600 grit sandpaper with the orbital sander or by hand, and he'll sand this entire bumper cover. We'll put some base on it and clear coat, and I'll share with you how we do that. Darius is sanding that bumper. We're gonna go ahead and mix up some base coat. This is a Mercedes bumper, so this is Mercedes black here. This is Nason XL. This mixes up 2-to-1, 2 parts paint, 1 part reducer. We're using the Series 1 disposable cup system. This is by Master Pro. I'll leave a link in the description. Find the 2-to-1 mixing ratio at the bottom here. So right there is 2-to-1. We'll go to the 2 column, put the amount of paint we want in, which is going to be 2. And then we'll go to the 1 column and fill it up with reducer to the coordinating 2 right there. We are going to use a low volume, low pressure paint gun. We'll use the Drizzle D1 for this. You don't tend to get a lot of overspray with it. So if you're looking for an inexpensive gun that's great for home use, it still produces a great looking finish, check this gun out. I've got plenty of videos on my channel about this gun. Okay, we lock on the cap. Okay, now our paint is ready. We're locked on, ready to go. Let's adjust our gun. Okay, we've got it all mounted on the stand for painting. Darius is going ahead and washing it with isopropyl alcohol. So we want to clean it with isopropyl alcohol to remove any contaminants that may be left on it before we apply our paint. So Darius is going to paint it today. We are going to use the Innocraft Drizzle D1. Let me grab that gun. As far as our gun settings for this Innocraft, we've got the fan pattern wide open. We're going to set the fluid volume right here at 2.5 turns out from closed. So we'll close it all the way and we'll open it up 2.5 turns. And then we'll set the air pressure. For base coat, we want to set it at about 20 PSI. First thing Darius is going to do is cover all the primered areas. Get those all covered, probably 2 coats. Darius is going to be painting a few more things. He's getting some more experience. He painted a hood. We're going to let him paint this bumper cover. He's getting really good at it. Looks good. So we're at 24 PSI on the air pressure. when you start, turn your wrist and then pull the trigger. Because if you pull the trigger at the panel, you're going to run it and you're going to get too much there. I'll start spraying out here and I'll come down. Okay. There you go. Now you're a painter. I think we're going to let that sit and we'll do one more coat on this. I'm tack ragging this off, remove any dust particles. I know I didn't unfold my tack rag. Shame on me. Shame on me. It'll be okay, people. I'm going to spray this coat on real quick because we're low on paint a little bit. Also, you can lean it like this. In clear, we're using the Finish One FC710, but it's made by Sherwin-Williams. It's a spot panel clear coat. We're going to use a slow activator. This clear coat mixes up 4-to-1. It's a really good budget-friendly clear. If you want to check it out, I'll leave a link in the description. Got 2 coats of base on it. Now you want to let it flash like 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the temperature, in between coats of base. And it's been 15 minutes since we sprayed our last coat of base on. So now we're ready for our clear coat. Darius has mixed up the clear coat and he's going to spray this. Okay, so we're going to set this gun up for Darius. We're going to set the air pressure at about 32 PSI without pulling the trigger fully, okay? So about 32 PSI, that puts us down to about 30 PSI. Fan pattern's wide open. We're 2.5 turns out from closed. So we closed it all the way, 2.5 turns out. And what I want you to do is start on this side and work your way that way. You want to keep the edge wet. Make sure you're continuing to work that wet edge down. Good. Good job. Good job. Okay. Woo, a little heavy. Keep that edge wet.
This is what I mean about wet edge. So this you had nice and slicked out, right? Yeah. It started to dry. Then you came back and you dusted here. What that does is put overspray over the rest of this and makes it look a little rougher. You know, you don't get that slick finish, so you always want to keep that slick finish. So if you're going to come back and do this edge, you want to do this and then immediately go over that edge because that's going to put overspray on your freshly painted, slicked out part. It's fine because we got to do another coat, right? But I just want you to be aware of it. Right. It looks really good though. You did a really good job. Yeah, that's a little dry, but that's okay. We got another coat. So what we'll do is we'll start here. And as you're working your way on this coat, you want to make sure you get all that area. Okay, this is Darius's first coat. It's got a little bit of light dust in it, but overall, he did a really good job. I'll lay down the second coat. Now do the... Okay. So overall, Darius did a fantastic job. He took instruction well. He was turning his wrist. I was telling him, don't start straight on the panel. Start off the panel with your wrist turned and then go into a nice pass. Came out nice and slick for black. Got a few little particles of dust, but that's okay. Yeah, nice work. Can't wait till I can just let him go on his own. Paint these bumpers. This is the Mercedes all finished up. So that's it for today's video. I hope you found this information helpful. If you did, definitely consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Listen, I appreciate each and every one of you watching. We'll see you next time on Garage Noise. Learn how to make all your paint jobs perfect by clicking on this video now.